Yo, this is Sivers Tha Third. I'm a rapper, singer, songwriter, poet from the island Barbados, and you're watching Chune TV.
Hey. Service y'all, you a bitch. Service y'all, you a bitch.
I would say like it's interesting, like my musical taste, because like I didn't necessarily get the records from my mom or my dad, because they were more into like gospel, like church records and stuff. It was mostly my brother, my big brother, Big Antonio. He used to listen to a lot of like hip hop and reggae and like a lot of rebel music. He was a big Bob Marley fan, so I would go in his room and steal his CDs and his records, and that's really what got my start. So I would say, you know, from a very young age, I was probably listening to some stuff I shouldn't be listening to. So like Biggie Smalls, Nas, The Roots, Lauryn Hill, Miseducated. Yeah, those are the records that I really, and they kind of shaped the foundation for my sound. You know, like especially Biggie, I was enamored with, you know, especially as like a bigger guy, you see somebody that just so fly, and you know, how he used to play with words, and that really like latched on to me, you know. And from there, that kind of like crafted my song for sure. So I would say Biggie, I would say Nas, I would say Jay, I would say Outkast, I would say Lauryn Hill, were like my very early influences. And then on that side of things, when my brother coming in, like he would be listening to Turbulence and Sizzler and Bob Marley, you know what I mean? And those were like very much staples in my house. I can still remember to this day my brother blazing Natural Mystic on a Sunday when we were trying to get church, and she just like, not today. You know what I mean? So like those are memories that kind of just like stick with me. He had one of these big old boom boxes, bro. Like it was a boom box, like, you know, one of them Panasonic radios with the little CD thing at the top. It's no sound regulation, so you know you're blazing out at 50 and the whole shaking. Yeah, so
Mama and dad didn't go.
yeah, nah. Yeah, nah. So, but you know, I would be there. So, you know, because obviously as the youngest, well, you wouldn't know, but as the youngest of three, so you know, me and my brother, or me and my sister, we'd be home a lot. So, but he was really into music like that. Yeah, it really like shaped my whole foundation. And then obviously as I get older, I had different people that come into my life that put me on to different songs. You know, big up Mr. Douglas, Robin from the Wirehead podcast. He was my biology teacher at school, and he would hear us talking about rap, and then after school he would be like, yo, when I listen to hip hop, and he would give me like certain records to go and check out, like Below the Heavens by Blue and Exile was one of the first records he put me onto, and that's one of my favorite hip hop albums of all time. You know, so yeah, big up Mr. Douglas, big up Robin. Oh, we're not actually a musical family, you know. All my whole family into food. Like we're all chefs. Like my mom, my dad, my brother, and my sister are all in the food industry. I am the only person who decided to just become an artist, I guess. But I mean, you could say I can tell you the stuff that all great artists tell you. Like, you know, we had the church background, you know, Sunday school choirs and youth service. Very young was something that I was exposed to, and that's where I got my first chops at like singing. I still remember singing in the school choir, and I had a very like higher pitch, so I was always kind of scared of singing at that time, because you know there was a lot of stigma against people singing higher in certain pitches here, like when I was growing up. So it's like, and it was very shy for, you know, a young boy singing in alto or singing in falsetto. You know, like it wasn't the deep, you know. So, but yeah, those were great experiences for me, because there was my first kind of background in the church, learning the skills, hearing the piano, that sort of stuff. Not really. I would always say that, honestly. I was kind of rebel from the start, you know. Rebel in the sense of like, My mom always used to tell me, your biggest problem is that you want to march, they beat you on drum too much, right? And it's funny because she always used to tell me march, they beat you on drum, but I never really understood it until I like started going around people and realized, oh, people don't really think the way I think. Like I like what I like, you know what I mean? And like I was always into like out culture when it be like rock or rap or reggae, and it was just something that just kind of hold on to me. Even with like movies, like I'm a big movie buff. Like I just check out Australian films, like weird little indie films, because to me, like that's where the artistry comes. You know, like how can I look at something different and then pull that into like a mainstream context? Yeah. Remember the exact moment. Me and my friends. So big disclosure, I've been rapping my whole like teenage years at school. Big up Big Gibbs of Physics at St. Michael's School. We would like freestyle in the garden for like hours, you know, because that's what we think. Playing a beat on YouTube and freestyle. Or some boy would beatbox or hit the table and we would freestyle. And that's how we really got known in school for like rapping. You know, I would rap on my own, but Gibbs kind of would like pull me on my shelf and like, nah dog, let me just freestyle. And you know, a lot of people got memories of seeing me walking around the school rapping or singing to myself because I always had a song in my head. You know what I mean? Fast forward, you know, I went through like some developmental programs with people like Creos Entertainment, which was responsible for like Cover Drive. And then I did like some stuff with like producers independently, and I hopped from studio to studio. Honestly, just trying to figure it out, you know, just kind of trying to find my foot in. But the point where I would say I would take it seriously is like I had just finished work on this project called 30 in Theory, and I had just had it there, just kind of sitting on it, trying to figure out when to put it out. Long story short, 4 of my friends went out. We went out one night. We got in a vehicle accident, and the vehicle flipped 4 times. And all we walk out with no injuries. And that was a turning point for me. Even me and my friend Chris, big up Chris Fields, that he in his soca realm now. Like that was the turning point, because from there we all just went hard on what we was doing. I put out 30 in Theory, you know, I put out Bridgetown, and again, and yeah, that's when I started taking it seriously. Because I was like, yo, bro, I was about to die with all this music on my flash drive. Nobody would never hear about this, and I like that, you know. So I kind of doubled down. I took shit seriously because it really showed me like how fickle life was. And I mean, dog, like we in a vehicle that like wanted like small box fans and like saws, because it was my friend dad was an electrician, so he had like saws, drills, bolts, all in the back of this thing, you know. So imagine this vehicle flicking and you could just see like a chainsaw like just suspended right there in the corner, and it's like, yo, and nothing. And you know, I'm big at Surf Rat. Surf Rat actually was driving behind us, and he come to help me with the car, and it was, I hear this voice, yeah, wait a minute, nigga. It was like, yo, that my song like Surf Rat. Yeah. Lo and behold, it was Surf Rat. Yeah, big at Rat. Yeah.
With a real friend, become a real true friend. Nobody can diss my girlfriends, cause you know what happened to me there?
Pussy them free now, shove out again. 6 pants, blood, shove out again. Rich badness.
Yeah. So OG fans know that I started off as Kevin Diaz. You know, and that was the era where, like, you know, you had the Kendrick Lamars and the J. Cole's, and everybody was kind of like changing their name based on themselves, you know. And so I had the Kevin Diaz, so Kevin's my middle name, and then I used my 2 initials, and that's what it was going by. I would say Kevin Diaz is fearless, whereas Sivers Tha Third is a very like repackaged idea of my thoughts. Because when it was Kevin Diaz, I was young. I was like 13 to 17, and I was just saying whatever comes to my head, you know. My first mixtape is a project called Maladaptive Daydreaming Disorder. And if you listen to it, I call Mad was the name of the project. And like I would just say shit, dog, like just for shock value. You know what I mean? And that was the story I was into, like that was the story, like, you know, I would hear Big say something like, my mother got cancer in my breast, don't ask me why I'm motherfucking stressed. You know what I mean? Like, and that was my thought line for songs, like, yo, I need to say things that when people hear this, like, yo, you know what I mean? So Darius told this, so I tell my manager, I got a line, the first line on my album on that project is, the only girl I love is dead. Glad I got that off my chest. And the rubbers and the rest are just trouble inside the dress. You know what I mean? And that's how they started our project. So it's like a lot of people just remember that as like, yo, what? Because yeah, I've been through some stuff. You know, I had a really good personal friend of mine. She passed away to suicide, and I was going through that at that time. I was young. I was like 15, 16. You know, and music was a kind of way. I was a quiet kid, so music was my voice. You know, I found my voice in music. I was the sort of person that would pretty much bundle everything inside and just keep it in my thoughts. You know, I would look at the world or something would bother me, and I would just try to process it internally. I would always say that, not to be cliche, hip hop kind of shit saved my life in a sense, because it really gave me a venue to like, an avenue to express like how I felt about things. You know, and you know, growing up, unfortunately, Caribbean household, like feelings ain't saying is really have discussions with your parents about, you know, so, or even your siblings really. So really and truly, like, yeah, it's mostly your friends and your music, you know, or your art or whatever inspired you. So for me, it was definitely records. Yeah, depression, me myself being a suicide survivor, I tried and failed. I'm very transparent about that. I talk about that all the time. And it's like, yeah, music really helped rehabilitate me. Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, it helped me through a lot of things, man. Like, it helped me process my thoughts. It gave me a voice. It gave me confidence. And yeah, if it wasn't for music, I don't know if I'd be here talking to you right now, to be honest. So I would say different phases of my life, because of the people I met, I approach records differently. So when I first started, it was just a beat and rapping for me. When I started going in studios, I realized that the environment in the studio really helped in the development of the record. And then there was a point when I was working on Bridgetown, I had met Tef. Seeing how he looked at records changed it for me, because he would be studying like tonality and voices and pitch placement and how you want this vocal to sound. And I was like, yo, that's how you build a record? That's crazy, because I never really used to approach it like that. I'd be like, oh, this sounds good. This sounds like something. I would use a reference track, or in terms of like, you know, I want this to sound like XYZ by XYZ, and this is my version of it, you know? But then I started to, even with this project on Rap Basket that I'm trying to create, like, it's all about building these songs from scratch. How can I add in elements of Barbados? How can I make this still playable on radio? How can I make this that if you never heard about the Caribbean, you can still listen to this rap and be like, yo, this is my heart. So I guess that's the formula for Sivers Tha Third track these days, is a mixture of how do I maintain my cultural identity, how do I make something that's easy to consume, and how do I polish that record with like all these skills that I have now. You know what I mean? Whether it be singing, whether it be rapping, whether it be the songwriting, whether it be the poetry, the spoken word piece, adding in voices, using musicians that I know, you know. So there's definitely been an evolution from Kevin Diaz to Sivers, you know, for sure. And the mixing and the mastering definitely better, because they're not doing it no more. Kevin Diaz was doing everything himself. I mixed all those songs myself, mastered all those songs myself. I wouldn't really call them a mix or a master either. I was just following tutorials on YouTube. I would just describe my music as an emotion, or even to be a little bit more artistic with it. Like I have this thing where I try to take snapshots of my life, you know, and I try to capture them in records, or snapshots of like thoughts, and try to capture them in records. So I would always say a record for me is like a look into my mind on that day, you know, and that day might be yesterday, or that day might be 7 years ago, or that day might be 16, but I just try to give people like little bits of like what I've been through, like, you know, like, or things that I think about, you know, like even like with my conceptual songs like Sugar, or Games, or Guns, or Home, where like these are records where I kind of like talking about things like, you know, the concept of the American dream, or the concept like we was talking off camera about sugar and diabetes, or the concept of like things that like the average Bajan like tackles, because these are real realities for us, you know what I mean? Like, how much of our thoughts are mainstream media influence, and how much of our thoughts come from our ancestors, from, you know, from the folk music, from the predecessors before us. You know, how much of us are focused on the issues in Barbados today, and how much of us are focused on the issues of the world, you know. In this era of social media, you got two kind of citizenships you got to focus on: being a citizen of the world, being a citizen of your country. And being a citizen in the world entails understanding that we all live in this world as an ecosystem, and even the smallest contribution can change the scale of things. You know what I mean? If you look at wars across the world, or if you look at politics across the world, it might not directly affect us because we didn't vote for the person in power, but their decisions always kind of affect Caribbean countries. Always. You know what I mean? Whether it be gas prices, whether it be guns and war, whether it be human trafficking, the Caribbeans just kind of get a kickback on that. One of my favorite poets is a guy named Kendall Hippolyte. He's from St. Lucia. And he did this piece called Crazy Eddie, right? And he was kind of talking about how Crazy Eddie is this big superpower that kind of sits in the background of the world and pushes buttons and causes turmoils, right? And you know, when you look at the effect of globalization on the Caribbean, you know, it really, and as it predates the Barbados, there are things that happen here that really shouldn't be happening here, but they do because of that. You know what I mean? Like, one of the most obvious, most recent things would be COVID. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't have anything to do with that, but in terms of the spread of it, whether it be the fear mongering or whatever, like, we were just in the moment trying to figure out, will we ever leave our homes again? You know what I mean? And yeah, that's the kind of scary thing. And I think our Prime Minister, Mia Motley, touches on it a lot. Is like, people kind of see us as this third world country, you know, that sits in this place, and not only just as a lot of Caribbean countries, but it's like we're affected by the decisions that you make. You know what I mean? Like, whether you want to go back historical and talk about like slavery and colonization and reparations or whatever, like, you could look at somewhere like Haiti, and they're still feeling the effects of the French to this day. You know what I mean? If you look at some place like Barbados, all our issues are very social and class oriented, in the sense of like how we interact with each other, how we look at each other, how we view wealth. You know what I mean? And how other Caribbean people look at us and our perception of what poverty and wealth is. You know, a lot of people come to Barbados for opportunities. You know, it's kind of like the hub of the Caribbean. We provide a lot of opportunities for people, and at the same time, to our own detriment, in a sense. You know, and it's crazy, like the world we living in now. I feel like that's a deep answer and a surface level answer at the same time. But it's like, I don't want to like gear this into a political, social conversation, because I got a lot of strong views on that. But it's like, yeah, that's the world we live in, and we live in a world that influenced by like culture and sound. Like, to me, it's like there are certain snapshots in Barbadian history that kind of shifted where we are at. You know what I mean? If you go in music, the death of Jackie Opal and Spooge and that movement definitely changed the trajectory of where Barbadian music should have been. And I don't think we did ever recover from that. I think we had great musicians. We still have great musicians. If there's one thing that Barbados has, is great musicians. Singers, drummers, rappers, spoken word artists, poets. You could go at NIFCA, you could go at any local open mic night. We have talent. Talent is not the problem. Resources and infrastructure is the problem, you know? So. I mean, yeah, definitely. Like, where you think people gravitate to din like that? Where you think people gravitate to pipe like that? Where you think the people gravitate to sadness like that? You know, like, there are the voices of like even idea, like there are the younger voices of this generation, but it's like they're giving it to you with that raw and as processed as mainstream Barbados might want it to be. You know what I mean? But yeah, music is definitely, I mean, and I feel it my own way, even with my own songs, they're trying to kind of fight that battle too. Like, there are things that happen here that are very scary to me in terms of like the money that we take from bigger countries, the lack thereof of programs and infrastructure for, I don't even want to say the youth, just for like that middle ground of like transitioning from being a young teenager to an adult in Barbados. Like there ain't no infrastructure there. It's just you kind of gotta figure it out. You know what I mean? Like you leave school and you just get kind of tossed into the wolf pack. And some people got parents that are able to provide guidance and infrastructure, or a cousin or uncle or a family friend if you went come here that will get you the job. You know, but really and truly, you know, like sometimes all of us don't got access to that. You know what I mean? Big up Comir. Everyone on my team from Comir with it. So that was not a job at Comir. Big up and on. You know, the karaoke was great. But yeah, so to me, it's just like, it's too much of a Wild Wild West. It's too much of a Wild Wild West in terms of like issues. It's too much of a Wild Wild West in terms of like just our idea of like treating each other like. And for a long time, I would really like wave that banner of like, yo, no, like we gotta look at this and we gotta approach this differently. And I remember my politics teacher at U, he told me something. He was like, Mr. Sivers, I like you spirit, you know, like you some boy that want to fight this fight, right? But I can ask you a question. He was like, if I have my nice house and I drive my nice car and my nepotism helping my children get through school, you feel like I can come and fight your revolution for you? And I was like, shh. And that's something that's just kind of sitting in the back of my head. Like, even though, you know what I mean? Like, you want to fight my revolution for me? And I started getting as like, I grew up in life and I get more interactions. It's like, you might see an injustice or you might see something that's wrong in a society, but if it don't directly affect you, why would you care? You know what I mean? And I think that's where the music comes in, is all our jobs as like poets, as like media people, as personalities to like create dialogues like this. You know what I mean? Like, if people come away from this interview and be like, yo, man, I was watching Chune, boy, and that convo between Sivers and that one boy really made me look at life different, boy. Like, I didn't even know things in Barbados was that rough, or I didn't even know certain things that they talk about, you know. Like, that's one of the things that I fell in love with hip hop for. The ability to spread messages in very simple ways, but have very large, wide effects. You know what I mean? One of the things that I would mention that for me that I've seen in my life that kind of had that effect is like Black Eyed Peas got a song called "Where's Love." You know, what's wrong with the world, mama? People acting like they ain't got no mamas. Da 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 da. And it's like, you hear that song, melody great, you know, it sound great, you know, or even Outkast will like, hey, yeah, mama don't mess around, because you think that song is like a song that's about like happiness and dancing, but he talking about how, yo, like, as much as you want me to be your lover, like, we got issues in this relationship, you know. But it's like, and that's what I like about hip hop, the ability to like use simple melodies or complex melodies or simple words or complex words and make it in a digestible way to make a change in the world. You know what I mean? And that's my goal with my music. You know, I ain't gonna tell you every song is like that. Bombsy definitely ain't really got no deep meaning to it. Drinks definitely ain't got no deep meaning to it. But it's like, you know, I think a person is multifaceted.
Hey, I'm a fire starter, watch you burn. As my tongue commits, it will be heard. Screaming from the rooftops far and wide. I spread it like wildfire. They say it's such a wide sky. Look at you smile. Smile from your head to your feet so high. You think you know the answers to the world. Hey. Well, go ahead, show me something. Rash money out.